Hi, my name is Eli Walker, and this semester I took the UP 100 class to be or not to be choosing our identities. In this class, there were three basic case studies that we looked at. The first was university, the second was me studies plus Basques, and the third was American plus some me studies. So in this, there were different virtues and different learning outcomes that we had for each case study. So in this first one, which was university, a big virtue that we looked at was learning. And with learning, there were two things we wanted to accomplish. The first was discovering each individual student's learning style, and the second was studying Matthew L. Sanders' book, Becoming a Learner, in order to separate these ideas of a student from a learner. You wanted to be the learner because that was someone who was actively engaged in their education as opposed to just trying to get the grade. And so these ideas that we studied were meant to help each student with higher education. And then the second grouping of virtues that we looked at were career virtues and character virtues. So to study this, we looked at an article by David Brooks, which separated these two into career virtues, which are obviously the virtues you want to have in your career, from the character virtues, or as he called them, eulogy virtues, which is the virtues you want to be known for. And we really studied that idea. And so there were a lot of learning outcomes that we had with this first one. Some of them included communicating across disciplines, teamwork and innovation, critical thinking, and oral communication, because we created a promo video with a group which focused on critical thinking, teamwork, and communicating across disciplines, as well as oral communication. And this led us into the second case study, which, as I mentioned, was me studies and Basques. So in this, the big virtue that we studied was identity. That was the main virtue with this one, because we read a book, Sweet Promised Land by Robert Laxalt, which told the story of a guy who came over from the Basque homeland all the way to America. So Basque was his given identity, and America was his chosen identity. So that's what we did. We split this idea of identity into given and chosen. And then we really studied this idea. And a learning outcome that we had with this one was oral communication, because there were many presentations we had to give with this one. And then the third case study was American plus me studies. And so this one, that big virtue we also studied with this one was identity as well. But this one we really focused on chosen identity, because we got to watch a naturalization ceremony where people chose to be Americans. So we focused on these chosen identities. And then the learning outcome we also had with this one was oral communication. So really this class was about discovering your own personal identity, chosen and given. Thank you. And now I'm going to give my practice for my elevator speech, and I will be talking about learning. Hi, my name is Eli Walker, and this year in UF 100, we really studied this idea of learning. And learning was grouped under the main case study of university, because we want to figure out how to become great learners in order to be successful at university. And so there were three things that we looked at. The first thing we looked at was Matthew L. Sanders' book, Becoming a Learner, which separated these ideas of being a student from being a learner. And you wanted to be the learner, because the learner was actively engaged in his education, while a student was merely just getting through to get the grades. And so those who were actively involved would thus be more successful, Sanders argued. And then the other two things we looked at were two different CITs we did throughout the year. The first one was learning styles. In this one, we took the VARC test, the multiple intelligences test, and we really hammered down this idea of student to learner, as Sanders suggested in his book. And then the second one was learning virtues. So in this one, we took this basic question that was, what is the purpose of higher education? And we created a thesis out of it. Each student was asked to create their own thesis out of what is the purpose of higher education. And they were asked to utilize aspects of Sanders and aspects of their learning styles from the last CIT that they did. And then they created this thesis to decide what higher education meant to each individual student. And then we were also asked to do a crap analysis for Sanders' book, which basically established the credibility of his work. So through all of this, we were looking at what it means to be a learner and how it's going to impact us in the future. And it will impact us in the future by dictating what jobs we get, what jobs we keep. Learning will forever be a part of our lives. And it was very important for us to study that this year. Thank you.